you have a valid passport in order for you to apply for your visa. You cannot apply for a visa without a valid passport. So the most appropriate option then is valid passport. That is the most appropriate answer there. Moving on to the next one. The next one reads, a waterborne disease. So our keyword there is waterborne. We are looking for a disease which is waterborne. So a waterborne disease that threatened the people of Czechia after the devastating earthquake floods in 2023. So the appropriate answer for that particular one is cholera. Why are we choosing cholera? If you look at malaria, malaria is not a waterborne disease. Then yellow fever is not a waterborne disease. So the only appropriate answer in that particular case, it will be cholera. So our correct answer there will be B. Then moving on to the next question, which is an element. An element, it simply means that something which is part of a tour budget. So an element of a tour budget, in this case, we are looking at accommodation. Accommodation is an essential element of the tour budget. Accommodation is an essential element of the tour budget. So our correct answer, which we are going to circle, is answer A. Now moving on to the next question, which appears on the next page. The next question is 1.1.5, which reads, a safety precaution at an airport. So our keyword there is at an airport when using e-hailing transport companies such as Uber or Bolt. So which is the most appropriate answer then? So it's not possible for you to get to know the drivers of the different companies, but what you can actually do is use a registered company's application or app to make the booking. So our correct answer will be D, which is to use a company's app to make the booking. So I'm going to circle the correct answer there, which is B. Now moving on to the next question, which reads, a reason why a tourist will visit the website of the Automobile Association of South Africa before traveling overseas. You know, obviously, that the Automobile Association of South Africa is responsible for issuing the International Driver's Permit. So in this case, the most appropriate answer will be D, to apply for an IDP, which is also known as the International Driver's Permit. Now, moving on to the next question, which is 1.1.7. The icons associated with the city of Moscow. So our keyword there, we need to highlight the city of Moscow. We need to highlight the city of Moscow. If you look at the other options which are there, they are not actually Moscow. They are not places which are found in Moscow. The French Riviera, for example, is not found in Moscow, and the Eiffel Tower, they are found in France. Then the Big Ben and the Buckingham Palace, these two are found in the United Kingdom and specifically in London. Then the Alcazar of Segovia and the Algarve, these ones are not found in Moscow rather. But the two appropriate will be the Kremlin and the Red Square. So in this particular case, the correct answer would be the Kremlin and the Red Square. This is the appropriate answer for that particular question. Then moving on to 1.1.8, the icon that is associated with the mass killing of people during the Second World War is located in Poland. So Poland is on letter B. So the icon that is associated with the mass killing of the Jewish people, in particular during the First World War, it is actually known as Poland. So Poland will be our most appropriate answer there. Moving on to the next one, let's move on to the next question, which is question 1.1.9. A positive experience can lead to. This is one of the characteristics of a successful attraction. So a positive tourist experience can lead to an attraction being successful. It actually leads to successful attractions. A positive tourist experience would lead to successful attractions. Then 1.1.10, an important factor to consider for an attraction to be successful. So when you want your attraction to be successful, you need to keep visitors safe from criminals. Because once visitors become victims of criminal behavior, they are not most likely going to return to their attraction. So the most appropriate answer there will be C. C will be our most appropriate answer. Then we go to 1.1.1. The Sunshine Golf Tour, recently held in South Africa, was sponsored by the South African Tourism, which is SA Tourism. The type of marketing initiative shown in the picture will result in what? So you can see that there's actually a gentleman who is playing golf. Then we can also see the logo for South Africa Tourism, then and also for Limpopo Tourism. So it is they're actually promoting the tourism of South Africa in general and also of Limpopo province in particular. So what would this result in? So this would actually promote South Africa as a leading sports. It's actually a positive thing. It would promote South Africa as a leading sports destination. So our correct answer would be B. Then moving on to the next one, 1.1.12. Official funding of tourism initiatives for South Africa tourism is provided by. So let's eliminate the wrong answers there. A wouldn't be appropriate. The Tourism Grading Council of South Africa is not correct. Then the South African Heritage Resource Agency is not correct. Then SATSA is not correct. So the correct answer would be D, which actually can be written in full as the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. It is responsible for collecting money for marketing initiatives. Then going on to the next question, 1.1.3. The national anthem of the Republic of South Africa, it is made up of so many languages. So it actually represents the diversity. Diversity is the abundance of people from different cultural backgrounds and languages in at a particular time. Then 1.1.4, it talks about the contract of employment stipulates that the following. So we have working hours and professional integrity in the workplace. Then we also have this one, core duties, fringe benefits, and uniform allowances. Then conduct of the staff at the workplace, then travel benefits, and also work duties. So in this case, we can talk about B, simply because A would eliminate it. Yes, working hours is correct. Professional integrity, yes, that one is much more held by or discussed in the code of what? Of conduct. So the core duties, fringe benefits, and uniform allowances. So our correct answer in this case will be option B. Option B will be our correct answer in this case. Then 1.1.5, a well-groomed employee, someone who is well-groomed, actually, if you look at A, wears clothing with offensive slogans, this is inappropriate. So this one we are canceling out. Uses perfume with an overwhelming scent is also inappropriate. Wears clean and neatly ironed uniform. Yes, this is actually acceptable. So a well-groomed employee wears clean and neatly ironed uniform. Then going to 1.1.16. The economic pillar of sustainability, the economic pillar of sustainability refers to the, when you look at the economic pillar, we are talking about the profit. It's also known as the profit pillar. So it refers to ownership and participation of the local community. So a tourism business should make sure that they also incorporate the locals in the ownership structures of their business. So that is part of the economic pillar of sustainability. Then 1.1.7, the Tour de France is an international, it's not a ultra marathon, but actually it is a cycle race. It is a cycle race which actually takes place annually on a yearly basis. Then 1.1.18, this South African city hosted the 2023 Netball Cup. So that city is actually Cape Town. The 2023 Netball World Cup was hosted in Cape Town, South Africa. Then going to 1.1.19, Hurricane Freddy damaged infrastructure in Malawi, Mozambique in February 2023. So the hurricane can be classified or was classified as a natural disaster. A hurricane is actually a natural disaster. It actually emanates from natural conditions. So it's a natural disaster. Statistics South Africa Stress Essay gathers information on the number of bed nights for tourists. This information refers to the average. So this is just the average of the length of stay at an accommodation establishment or its accommodation establishment. So that is the multiple choice questions. Now we move on to 1.2. 1.2, it actually reads, give one word or term for each of the following descriptions by choosing a word or term from the list which is below. Write only the word next to the question numbers. So we are only going to write the word next to the question number in the answer box. So we'll write them right next to the statement. So the first question is 1.2.1. The 0-degree line of latitude from which all countries read their time. So all times for all countries are based on the UTC. So we are going to take the UTC. We are going to take the UTC, which is known as the universal. It's known as the universal time coordinate. It's known as the universal time coordinate, which is abbreviated as UTC. So we have taken that one. Then 1.2.2, international customs regulations determine that firearms taken onto an aircraft are actually part of prohibited goods. So you are not allowed to take firearms. Firearms, we are talking about guns and rifles, prohibited goods. This is done for safety reasons. You are not allowed to carry firearms or weapons on an aircraft because it might result in terrorism or it might result in hijacking of the flight. Then important information included in a tourist passport. Let's look at our options there. So the best possible option then is the expired date. Whenever you take a passport, it actually shows you the expiry date. Usually a passport is only valid for a duration of 10 years. So the correct answer there will be the expiry date. Expiry date is important information which you find on a passport. Then a condition caused by the long distance air travel across many time zones. So when you approach this question, it is important for you to highlight the key thing there so that you won't be confused. So when you travel across many time zones, you are most likely going to be jet lagged. So we have two options here. There's jet fatigue and there's jet lag. But our appropriate answer will be jet lag. Jet lag, you get it when you cross several time zones. When a passenger flies across several time zones, they are most likely to get a condition which is known as jet lag, whereby they cannot figure out their time, the actual time of where they are. The common currency used in many European countries. So many European countries have decided to adopt the euro as their standard currency. So the euro is the common currency which is used by many European countries. The euro is the name of the currency. Now, moving on to the next question, which is question 1.3. 1.3, it reads, choose the correct words from those given in the brackets, write only the words next to them, question number in the answer box. So in this case, we are going to be highlighting the correct words from the two options which are given. So in the first case, we have the first question, which is actually the first question, which reads, the WHO, the WHS or the WHO is responsible for regulating health issues globally. So the correct answer there is the WHO. The WHO is our correct answer. So it is actually known as the what? The World Health Organization. World Health Organization, WHO, is the one which is responsible for monitoring health issues. It is the one which is responsible for monitoring health-related issues. So that's the correct answer, WHO. Now moving on to them. So the correct answer is the one which is highlighted there. Moving on to the next question. Yellow fever or diarrhea is considered a high-risk disease for people traveling through affected areas. All right, I think you should know very well that yellow fever, it is actually a disease which is prevalent in certain countries, especially here in Africa. It is prevalent in Central and West Africa. So for tourists who are traveling there, they should actually take health precautions because they are not immune to it. So they should take health preventative medicine before they go to that area. So the correct answer there, it will be yellow fever. Then moving on to the next question, preventative medication for malaria or bilharzia should be taken before visiting affected regions. When you visit malaria, places which are actually known for malaria, in the case of South Africa, we have provinces like Limpopo and Mpumalanga. They are well known for being being malaria risk areas. So when you visit such places, you should take preventative medication. So the correct answer in this scenario, it is malaria. Malaria would be our correct option there. Malaria would be the correct option. Then moving on to 1.3.4, travel clinics or travel agencies offer vaccinations to tourists when traveling abroad. So that is, it is the responsibility of travel clinics to offer vaccinations. It is the responsibility of travel clinics to offer vaccinations for people who are traveling abroad. So they also offer health advice to people who will be traveling abroad. Then 1.3.5, the global pandemic known as the COVID-19 or Zika virus brought the global tourism industry to a halt. So the global pandemic was actually COVID-19. So the reason why we are choosing COVID-19, it affected the whole world. Yes, we know about the Zika virus, but the Zika virus mainly affected Brazil. But COVID-19, it actually brought the whole world to a standstill. So that's why we are choosing the COVID-19 option there. Then moving to 1.1.4, we actually have a table which is there. And let's go through the table. It says choose a sustainable tourism concept. So it is mainly focused on sustainable tourism. It is focused on the topic sustainable tourism. So we have on column A tourism business investing money in a local old age home. So for this one, the correct answer will be G. It will be G, which is CSI. So I am going to write the correct answer next to the first. So that is actually CSI. Then the correct letter will be the letter G. So CSI, it actually stands for corporate social investment. It is when a tourism businesses business actually spends money on social projects. That is what is known as CSI. Then 1.4.2, reusing glass containers for a different purpose. When you reuse glass containers for a different purpose, you are actually practicing the environmental pillar. So 1.4.2 is E, which is part of the environmental pillar. You are actually promoting the planet. So it's part of the environmental pillar. It is part of the environmental pillar. Then moving on to 1.4.3, procurement. Procurement, the word procurement, it simply means buying. So buying of goods from a local community is known as the economic pillar, simply because you're trying to promote local businesses. So the correct answer there is actually B, economic pillar. Economic, that is the economic pillar. Then moving on to the next one, 1.4.4, the body that satisfies that businesses practice the triple bottom line. So that body is actually A. It is actually A, which is also known as fair trade tourism. So the correct letter there, it will be A. The board is known as fair trade tourism, or in short, it is known as FTT. Fair trade tourism is the body which ensures that all tourism businesses, or it certifies that tourism businesses apply the triple bottom line, FTT. Then moving on to the next one, 1.4.5, businesses consider the positive and negative impacts of tourism on local communities' culture and heritage. So that is actually concerned with the social pillar. That is so concerned with the social pillar. So the correct answer for that one, it will be D, which is the social pillar. That will actually be the social pillar. So those are the correct options which are appropriate for those questions. Now let's move on to the next question. So we have 1.5. The pictures below show the different forms of payment. Match pictures A to F below to the descriptions numbered 1.5.1 to 1.5.5. Write only the letter next to the question numbers 1.5.1 to 1.5.1 in the answer book. All right, so what we are going to do, we are going to start with 1.5.1. 1.5.1, a transaction used to send money or pay goods and services using electronic devices. So the correct answer then is D. If you look at D, there is use of a tablet, and there's also another tablet. So the methods which is being used here, it is actually called electronic transfer, or you can call it e-transfer. So that electronic transfer is a transaction used to send money or pay for goods and services using electronic devices. So the correct letter there will be G. Now moving on to the next one. The best way to pay for small purchases. So the keyword there, it's small. When you're doing small transactions, like bottled water from a street vendor, you don't need to use a card, but you'd rather opt for cash, which is A. So you'd rather go for A, which is your cash. So the correct answer will be written here. That is A, which is cash. So 1.5.2 is actually 1.5.2. That's actually cash. When you are doing small transactions, it's advisable that you use cash. Then a preloaded multi-currency debit card that is convenient to pay for purchases during international travel. So the preloaded card, it actually appears on the image C. So that is your preloaded card. That is the one which appears here. So 1.5.3, this is 1.5.3. Then moving on to the next one, money is available after an arrangement was made with the bank to repay the amount in monthly installments. So in that case, we are talking about a credit card. So in this case, our credit card will be F. As you can read, it's written MasterCard, Visa, credit card. So that is, so it will be F. F is our credit card. So we write the option F right next to 1.3.4. So 1.5.4 rather is actually a credit card. Then we do have an international bank-to-bank network of electronic transactions using payment orders and codes. So that one is known as SWIFT. It is actually known as SWIFT. That is an international bank-to-bank network of electronic transactions using payment orders and codes. So 1.5.5 is actually the letter E. The correct answer for it is the letter E. So we are writing the letter E. Yeah. Now let's move on to the next one. The next one is actually a question on Mapwork and tour planning. Then it also includes a question on foreign exchange. So study the world time zone map and the information below and answer the questions. So the first thing which you need to do, you need to study the time zone map. It is actually important for you to study this time zone map. You need to know how to use even the wheel, which is here, then also the ribbon, which is on top to do the calculations. So we have a scenario there. On the 45th Cape Town Cycle Tour, the world's biggest timed cycle race in the world was held on Sunday, 12 March 2023. The cycle tour attracted more than 30,000 cyclists from across the globe. This year, the Cape Town Cycle Tour opened opportunities for junior riders of 13 years and older to join the 42-kilometer race. Then the scenario is as follows. Gordon Willis, a talented 16-year-old cyclist from London, his parents and his grandmother decided to travel to South Africa to support Gordon's participation in this Cape Town Cycle Tour 2023. The family enjoys adventure-based activities. Gordon and his family took a direct flight from Heathrow International Airport. They departed from London. So we need to highlight some of the key things here, especially things like the time of departure, which we will use in our calculation. So they departed from London at that's actually 7 at night or 7 in the evening. On which date? On the 8th of March 2023. So we need to highlight this. Then they arrived in Cape Town on the following day, that is the 9th of March 2023. Then the total flying time was 11 hours. So we'll keep this in mind. We would need this information when we do our next sum. Gordon's grandmother offered to pay for a new bicycle. She insisted that he buy a top-of-the-range bicycle in South Africa. She gave him 3,000 British pounds in cash, which she exchanged for South African rand in Cape Town. So the first part of the question is calculate the time difference between London and Cape Town. Calculate the time difference between London and Cape Town. So I'm going to highlight the key word here. The question is looking for time difference. So when we are calculating time difference, we need to refer to the time zone map. So I would want to go back to the time zone map. It's unfortunate that it's upside down, but if you go to your time zone map, you can see that London, it is there. It is actually 0. It is actually on the 0 time zone. Then if we go to Cape Town, our Cape Town will find it here. Cape Town, it's actually part of the +2 time zone. So we are comparing the time difference between 0 and +2. So we do it using our ribbon. We actually do it using our ribbon. We are going to calculate from 0 up until we get 2 plus 2. So the first one, 1, then 2. So the time difference between the two cities is actually 2 hours. Is actually 2 hours. And remember, we are moving from west to east. So it simply means that Cape Town is 2 hours ahead of London. So time difference is equals to 2 hours. The time difference between London and Cape Town is 2 hours. How did we get it? Cape Town. Okay, we start with Cape Town. Cape Town is plus 2. London is 0. Then we say 2 minus 0 is equals to 2 hours. So that's why we say the time difference between London and Cape Town is actually 2 hours. Then 2.1.2, calculate the arrival time in Cape Town when Willie's flight landed on 9 March 2023. So whenever you are calculating arrival time, you say arrival time, we start with the formula, departure time plus flight duration. We say departure time plus flight duration. So in this case, we are going to take our sum a little bit below here. So we are going to determine our departure time. So our departure time, if you go back to the question, our departure time was 1900 hours, or you can call it 7 p.m. 1900, I'm going to write 1900 here. 1900 plus 11 hours of the flight. So we are talking about 19 plus 11 hours of the flight. So obviously, if you add your 19 plus 11, you are going to get 30. You are going to get 30. Then that 30, you subtract it from 24 hours, knowing that we have 24 hours in a what? In a day. So the arrival time will be 6 a.m. according to GMT time. It will be 6 o'clock GMT time. But if you want to change it to South African time, you can actually change it as well to South African time, knowing that Cape Town is 2 hours ahead. You can say 0600 hours plus 2 hours equals, so it means in Cape Town, South Africa, it was actually 8 a.m. So this is one way of doing it, which is a mathematical way. But normally we discourage learners from using the mathematical way for obvious reasons. At times you might get lost along the way. You might get lost along the way. So we encourage also learners to make use of the time wheel, which appears on your time zone map. All right, you can also use the time wheel. We have been told that the departure took place at 1900 hours. So here is our 19. So we can start counting from 19. And we have also been told that our flight duration is 11 hours. So let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you look, it still gives us 6 p.m. It's 6 a.m. rather. It still gives us 6 a.m. Then we also need to take note that we have crossed midnight. So since it's 6, you can say it's 6 o'clock GMT time, or it's actually 8 o'clock South African time, SAT. So both answers would be what would be correct. Because in the first case, you would have used London time, and in the second scenario, you would have used South African time. But in any case, both options will actually be correct. Both options are actually accepted as correct answers. So moving on to the next one, we do have an image which appears there. Refer to the picture below. Answer the questions that follow immediately. So if you look at this picture, it is actually showing us an entry point or a point of entry, which is, it can be a border or it can be an airport. So it's an port of entry. So at the port of entry, you come across 2 channels, the green channel and the red channel. You come across 2 channels. So on this side, we have the red channel. Then on the other side, we have the blue channel. We have 2 channels on these 2 different sides. We have the red and the green channel. We have the red and green channel. So this is the red channel. Then on the other side, we have the green channel. On the other side, we have the green channel. So apart from their luggage, Gordon's mother carried 50 mils of perfume. So let's highlight 50 mils of perfume. I'm going to highlight it in what? In green. It is allowed to carry what? 50 mils of perfume. It is actually permissible. Then also 1 liter of wine. This is allowed as well. So I'm going to highlight it with what? With green. Then, and also carried his cycling what? Gear. Cycling gear is part of your personal clothing. It's not meant to be sold in South Africa, so it is allowed. Which gets us to the question. Advise Willie's family which channel they need to proceed at Cape Town International Airport. Obviously, when they're at Cape Town International Airport, they need to use the green channel. Why are we saying so? They are carrying goods which are allowed. So our correct answer there will be the green channel. They should actually go through the green channel because all the items which they are carrying are actually allowed by SARS or by the South African Revenue Service. All right, give 2 reasons. So we are going to write the reasons below that. I'm going to write the reasons below. 1 liter wine is allowed. Of wine is duty-free. It is allowed to carry a liter of wine. Then another reason, so this is the first reason which you are providing. Then I'll also try to provide another reason. I'll try to squeeze in there. Another reason is that 50 mils of perfume allowed. 50 mils of perfume is also duty-free. It's allowed. Then personal cycling gear is allowed. Cycling gear is duty-free as well. You are not allowed to pay, you are not required to pay duty for those 3 items. So any of these reasons can actually give you what 4 marks. 50 mils of perfume is allowed. Cycling gear is also duty-free. It is permissible to carry those items through customs using the green channel. Now, let's go to the next question, 2.2.2. The men in the picture are not employees of Airports Company, South Africa, AXA. Name the government body that employs them. So if you look at these 2 gentlemen or 2 officers, rather, they work for the government. So which department do they work under? So the correct department then will be the South African Revenue Service. Customs, you can actually say SARS. So they are employed as customs officers now. So they work for the customs office under the South African Revenue Service. That's the department or the government body which they fall under. So they work under SARS. This is the responsibility of South African Revenue Service to check the goods which enter and which exit a country. All right. Now it brings us to question B, which says, explain two duties. When you talk about duties, we are talking about responsibilities. What are the responsibility of SARS? All right, to control, the first responsibility to control the movement of goods into and out of the country. So the responsibility of the South Africa Revenue Service is to control the movement of goods into and out of the country. Into and out of the country. Into and out of the country. So the second responsibility is to collect tax or to collect excise duty on behalf of the government. That is this the secondary function, to collect excise duty, on behalf of the government, of the state or of the government. That is the second responsibility of the South African Revenue Services. So when you mention both answers, you would actually be entitled to 2 marks. The first one, to control the movement of goods into and out of the country. Then the second one, to collect excise duty on behalf of the government. All right, the next question would actually require us to read the scenario as well. So we are saying, okay, moving on to the next question, which is question 2.3. All right, we need to read the scenario first for 2.3. So the scenario reads, the family checked into their hotel in Cape Town. Gordon sent the WhatsApp message below to his friend John in New York. We need to highlight the key words there, which would help us to understand the question. So Gordon sent the WhatsApp message below to his friend in New York at 1400 hours. So we highlight New York, then also the time in South Africa. So this is South African time. Your 1400 hours, this is SA standard time, which you write as SAST. Then the message reads, hi, John, we landed safely in Cape Town. It is an amazing city. I'm very excited about my new bike. Looking forward to the Cape Town Cycle Tour. Wish you a year too. So now the question requires us to calculate the time in New York. The time in New York. So what is required of us is the time in New York City. Time in New York when Gordon's friend received the message. So there's also a note that New York practices GST. So in the last part of the calculation would also include GST. So going back to the question, it requires us to first establish the time zone for New York. Then we establish the time difference between New York and South Africa or Cape Town. So if you go back to the time zone map, which appears on the next display, we need to identify Cape Town. So we need to highlight where the city of Cape Town is exactly. So the city of Cape Town appears there. Then the time zone for Cape Town appears on top where it is shaded there. Then going to New York appears here. This is where New York is in the -4 time zone region. So we need to determine the time difference between the two. So we start counting using the ribbon or the number line. from -5 up to +2. So we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's a 7-hour difference. The time zone of South Africa is actually 7 hours ahead of New York. So let's go back to the sum. So what do we need to do? So we have been given South African time, which is 7 hours ahead. So it means we are going to subtract 1400 minus 7 hours. 1400 minus 7 hours. Then we go back to our time zone map. The best way of subtracting hours is by using the wheel, which appears on the left bottom corner of your time zone map. So we are starting at 1400 hours. We are starting at 1400 hours. So we identify 14 on the wheel. This is our 14. Then we count 7 hours from 14, going backwards. So we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it takes us to 7 a.m. It takes us to 7 a.m. So let's go back to our sum. 1400 minus 7 hours, it actually gives us 7. So it was actually 7 a.m. when the call was made. But you need to bear in mind that New York practices DST. So during this time, New York was practicing daylight saving time. So we add 1 hour GST plus 1 hour of GST. So our final answer will be, it was 8 a.m. when the call was made. It was actually 8 a.m. in New York time when the call was made. So the first thing which you are supposed to do when you're dealing with such a sum, establish the time difference between the two cities, then you add or you subtract depending on which side you are moving from. So in this case, we actually subtracted because New York is behind South African time by 7 hours. Then we also adjust the time according to daylight saving time. Moving on to the next question, which is 2.4. We have a scenario which appears on 2.4. The Willis family spent 5 days in Cape Town for the cycle tour and to explore the city. Redraw the table in your answer book. Complete the blank spaces for days 2 and 5 on the itinerary. The itinerary must include the following: 1 adventure activity. So we are going to highlight this. We must include an adventure activity which they can engage in Cape Town. Then you must also include a shopping event before the cycle tour. So as you can see on our itinerary, day 1, it's already filled in. That is the arrival on the 9th of March in Cape Town. But for day 2, we need to give them an activity which might be adventurous to them since they are arriving in Cape Town. So there are so many things which they can do in Cape Town. For example, in the morning, they can go to a crafts market. Market, this is option 1. They can go around looking for crafts in the morning. That can be in the morning. Or they can go to a local shopping mall in Cape Town. Local mall for shopping. That is in the morning. Then later in the day, they can do quite a number of activities. They can actually go on cable car rides. Cable car rides, which are actually adventurous. Or they can actually go hiking. They can actually go hiking on Table Mountain. That is another option which they have. Then we can also do the same thing for day 5. Day 5, they can go shopping for souvenirs. They can actually go shopping for souvenirs. You can actually go shopping for things which will make them, which will remind them about their tour in Cape Town. Then in addition to that, they can also go for sight viewing or sightseeing in the Table Mountain Park, in the Table Mountain National Park. You can also go for sight viewing in the Table Mountain National Park. So there are quite a number of things which they can do on those 2 days. Visiting local craft markets, then they can visit the local mall. They can also go for cable rides. And in addition to that, another option which you have, they can go for a boat cruise on the at the V&A waterfront. A boat cruise can be another option, a boat cruise. So all these are different options. Now moving on to the next page, which is question 3, which says refer to the table below and answer the questions that follow. So for this one, you need to be having your calculator next to you. So we do have different exchange rates which appear there. We have different exchange rates. So we have the first country is the United Kingdom. Then we have the United States of America. So the currency code for the UK is GBP, Great British Pound, whose BBR is 21.98. Then the bank selling rate is 22.18. So the first question reads, do you think the rand was strong or weak against the 2 major currencies? So if you look at it, in order for you to get 1 British pound, you have to actually fork out 22.18 rands. And in order to get the US dollar, it's 18.40. So this actually shows us that the rand was weak against the major currency. The rand was weak against the major currencies. The rand was actually weak against the major currencies. Why are we saying that it's weak? In order for you to get a single unit of the major currencies, you have to pay more South African rand. For example, the pound, you have to pay 22 rands for only a single pound. The same applies to the US dollar. You have to pay $18 to get the US dollar. So our reason is you have to pay more more rands to get a single foreign unit. A single foreign. So you have to pay more rands to get a single foreign unit. You have to pay more South African rands just to get a single pound or a US dollar. Then the question reads, explain 3 possible reasons why Gordon's grandmother insisted that he should buy a bicycle in South Africa. So there are several reasons which you can actually include. All right. You can talk about the exchange rate. The exchange rate makes it more cheaper to buy in South Africa. That's the first reason. It's more cheaper to buy in South Africa than bringing a bicycle from abroad. The exchange rate makes it more cheaper to buy in South Africa. That is the first thing. Then in addition to that, another reason to avoid paying for customs duty. Customs duty. You know very well that when you import something from abroad, you have to pay duty for it if it is not included in the duty-free list. So we have 2 reasons now, but we need a 3rd reason. So another reason, for the sake of convenience, you can't move around with a bicycle on an airplane. So for convenience, and to save flight and also to avoid baggage cost on the airline. Baggage cost. When you get into an airline, you pay extra for extra luggage. So we have 4 reasons there. The exchange rate makes it much more cheaper to buy in South Africa. Remember, the rand is actually weak. So it would appear as if South African goods are actually cheaper than goods bought from outside. Then also to avoid paying customs duty. Then for the sake of convenience, moving around with a bicycle on an aeroplane, it's actually inconveniences him. Then to also avoid baggage or luggage cost. Now, it brings us to the next question, which is 3.1.3. The money Gordon received from his grandmother gave him the buying power to afford a top-of-the-range bicycle. Explain the concept of buying power. So buying power can be simplified as the ability to buy goods and services at a lower cost. Or you can say the ability to buy more goods and services for less, or at a lower cost. That is what we call buying power. So even if you look at the scenario involving Gordon, you find that in this case, when he was coming to South Africa, he actually had a higher buying power, simply because the currency which he is exchanging for the South African rand is actually much more powerful than the South African rand. So it goes back also to the question of the weak and the strong rand. When the rand is actually weak, it gives inbound tourists a higher buying power. Then moving on to the next question, 3.1.4, Gordon's mother gave him 3,000 pounds to buy a new bicycle rather. Calculate the amount Gordon had in rands to buy a new bicycle in South Africa. So in this case, we are actually converting pounds into rands. So we need to determine a formula from Forex, which are pounds, from Forex to rand. We multiply by BBR, which stands for bank buying rate. So when we are moving from Forex to rands, we actually multiply using our BBR, which is also known as the bank buying rate. So in this case, we need to determine what we are multiplying with. So from Forex to rands, we multiply by BBR. So in this case, we have our 3,000 pounds times. Let's go back to the currency table to determine the BBR for the pound. So if you go back to the currency table, we are actually going to get the bank buying rate. We're actually going to get the bank buying rate, which is 21.98. The figure which we are using is 21.98. We are using this BBR. Why are we using BBR? The simple reason why we are using BBR is that when you are changing Forex into rands, it's the bank which is buying Forex from you. So that's why we use BBR. The bank will be buying foreign currency from you. So the bank uses what we call BBR. So our BBR in this case is 21.98. So I'm going to write it here. So we are multiplying 3,000 pounds times 21.98. So if you multiply 3,000 pounds times 21.98, it gives you 65,940 rands and 40 rands. So we don't have cents outside. So our answer will be actually correct to 2 decimal places. So the key thing here is when you're calculating or when you are converting rather from Forex to Rand, you are supposed to multiply by the bank buying rate, simply because the bank is actually buying the currency from you. Then you write your answer, and you also indicate that it is in rands. Now, moving on to the next question. Moving next to the next question, which is based on a graph. There is a Forex graph which is indicated there. Study the graph below and answer the questions that follow. It actually shows the fluctuation of the South African rand. So you must know that currencies, they change over time. They don't remain the same. They fluctuate over time. So it shows the fluctuation of the South African rand against the US dollar between January and March 2023. So if you look, the beginning, it was, that is 9 January. Then the last date of the statistics was actually 15 March. So we want to look at the trends of the fluctuation of the South African rand over that period. So the first question reads, the highest exchange rate of the rand against the US dollar. So we need to highlight the key thing here, the highest exchange rate. When was the South African rand much more valuable against the US dollar? So if you look at the different dates, on this date, on 9 March, it was on 1720. Then the following day, it was on 1680. So it means on this day, on 14 January, $1 was costing only 1680. So we are looking at the day when the US dollar was actually cheaper as compared to the South African rand. So that day, we are going to highlight it as what? It was on 14 January. It was on 14 January. Then $1 was equal to 16 rands 80. On this day, $1 was equal to 16 rands 80. So that is the day when the South African rand was actually stronger than any other day. The highest exchange rate of the rand, that is the highest exchange rate. Now we want to look at when the South African rand was at its lowest. So if you look back, if you go back to a graph, the South African rand actually fell to its lowest when it hit the 1880 mark. 1880 mark, that day was 15 March. So first I would take this figure. So let's go back to the lowest exchange rate of the rand against the US dollar on the date. So it was on 15. The date was actually 15 March. On the 15th of March, $1 was costing, $1 US was costing. Let's go back to the graph and take the price there. $1 was costing 1880. $1 was costing 1880. $1 would get you, or rather 18 rands 80 cents will get you $1. 1880. So if you go back, I'll try to explain the sense of this again. If you compare the two exchange rates, if you go to 3.2.1 on 14 January, you could actually buy $1 at 16 rands 80. But on 15 March, the rand actually lost its value. $1 was now more expensive. It was now costing 18 rands 80 for you to get just a single dollar. So that is 3.2.2. Now we need two reasons why the South African rand fell to a new low against the US dollar from mid-February to mid-March 2023. All right, there are quite a number of reasons. The fluctuation of a currency is determined by the things which are taking place in a country. It can be on the political level, it can be on an economic level. So if you look at this time, there was also the issue of load shedding. Load shedding, it actually also have an impact of the value of the South African rand. It also causes fluctuation of the South African rand. Besides load shedding, you can also talk about economic data. You know very well that this is the time when the budget speech usually is announced. So when the budget speech is announced, it also has an impact on the South African rand. Then we can also talk about protests. There were protests, labor unrest or strikes. This can also affect the value of the South African rand. So the prevailing economic conditions or political conditions actually affect the value of the South African rand. So all of these can be listed as what? As reasons why the South African rand was fluctuating rather. Now it brings us to question 4, which appears on section C. So the title of the section is actually tourist attractions, culture, heritage, and tourism. So if you look at there are images which appear there, image A, image B, then we also have image D. So if you look at the images, they actually show the icons which are being studied for the year 2023. So the question now reads, identify the icons or attractions above using the information given below. Write only the name of the icon next to the question numbers. Then we go to A. The aim of the matador is to entertain the crowd. So the icon which is associated with matador is actually icon C. So your A would be icon C. Why are we saying icon C? Icon C, actually, it represents bullfighting in Spain. This is bullfighting in Spain. So it involves one bull and someone called a matador. So that is actually bullfighting in Spain. So the correct answer for A is C. Then the icon is a symbol of democracy and freedom. So let's relook at our icons again. So if you relook at your icons, we have A as the Statue of Liberty. So A, that is actually the correct icon, which symbolizes freedom and democracy. Icon A is the one which is appropriate for the description given in B. Remember, it was a gift to the United States of America from France. So icon A represents freedom and democracy. So I am going to write the correct letter there, A, which is the Statue of Liberty. Then C, this market in Thailand has food vendors. So we are talking about the floating markets of Thailand or of Bangkok. So it's actually icon G. Icon G. I think you can see the two vendors who are selling their produce on boats on the floating markets of Thailand. Then this natural formation is layers of red rock. So the icon which has layers of red rock is actually the Grand Canyon, which appears there. So that is your icon B, which is also known as the Grand Canyon. It's icon B, which matches the description given in D. So we are going to write the letter D right next to this description. That is 4.1.1. Now on 4.1.2, two World Heritage sites included two World Heritage sites. Obviously, The first two, that is your A and B. A and B, they are actually two World Heritage sites. So the reason why they must be protected, A symbol for democracy, for freedom and democracy. And democracy. Then B, it represents unique geological formations. Geological formations. So that's why they should be protected. Geological formations. So those are the two reasons why those icons must be protected. So now we are going to the unique aspect of icon D. Unique aspect. All right. The unique aspect about the floating market is that it is the biggest floating markets in the world. Markets in the world. So it represents the biggest floating markets in the world, which is actually a unique aspect. Then we also have picture C, which is representative of a controversial. Controversial simply means much debated cultural practice. So discuss two reasons why certain people believe that this practice should be, discuss two reasons why certain people may believe this practice should be allowed to continue. All right. Some people believe that it represents the culture of Spain. Some people believe that it represents the culture of Spain. It attracts several tourists. It actually attracts several tourists. So that's why certain people may believe that these practices should be allowed to continue. Those are some of the reasons. Now, moving on to 4.2, we do have an icon which is known as the Machu Picchu. It closed indefinitely because of political situations. This famous tourist site has been indefinitely closed over the ongoing protest in the countries. Hundreds of tourists were struck for hours as rail services to the site were damaged. Politically motivated violent protests have endangered the lives of tourists, and officials have cautioned tourists against traveling to Machu Picchu. So name the continent and the country where the Machu Picchu is located. So our keyword then will be the continent. We need to identify the continent and also the country where that particular icon is located. So we would identify the country as, the country is known as Peru. The country is known as Peru. Then Peru is located in South America. Peru is actually located in South America. So the country is Peru and location South America. Then 4.2.2, describe one physical feature that makes the Machu Picchu a popular tourist attraction. So the architectural design, of the citadel. Okay, the architectural design of the citadel, it actually makes it a unique tourist attraction. Then 4.2.3, 4.2.3, the violent protest had a negative impact on the country's tourism industry. Discuss the negative impacts. So when you look at the negative impacts which took place after this development, people canceled their flights, tourists canceled flights to Peru. Then you can also indicate that it actually scared tourists. You can actually say that it portrayed Peru in a negative way. Peru is an unsafe tourist destination. Unsafe tourist destination. People became scared of visiting Peru. Then in addition to the cancellation, you can say that even hotel bookings were cancelled. Then trips were postponed. Trips were actually postponed to Peru. So that actually affected the tourism industry in Peru. Question 5, it says study the information below and answer the questions that follow. So it talks about South Africa's fabulous flowers and fynbos. So the World Heritage Site in the picture above is known as the Cape Floral region. That is actually the Cape Floral region. That is the Cape Floral region. I think you can see the flora which appears there, and also the mountains which appear right below, which shows that is the Cape Floral region. The World Heritage Site identified in question 5.1 can be classified as a natural site. Remember, we have two classes for World Heritage Site. We actually have three. We have the natural sites, we have the man-made sites, then we have mixed. We have the natural, the cultural, and the mixed site. So that one is actually a natural site. So name the province where the World Heritage Site is located. It's located in Western Cape. It is located in the Western Cape. Located in the Western Cape. Name other World Heritage Sites in the province identified. The other World Heritage Site there is Robben Island. It is known as Robben Island. That is another World Heritage Site located there. Then 5.2, the criterion was used to declare the World Heritage Site as a World Heritage Site. Explain one value of the unique fynbos biome in attracting tourists. So there are several species, of plants found in that region. Found in this region. Then there are some unique species. Some unique plants only found in that region. Only found in this region. They are not found anywhere else, but only found in this region. So that is what makes it unique. Then we have a case study, which is there. A fire destroyed a small part of the edge of the Table Mountain National Park. This is one of the 13 protected area clusters of the natural properties included on the World Heritage list. This region is one of the world's greatest biodiversity hotspots of global significance. In a paragraph, discuss 3 threats of uncontrolled fires as a result of irresponsible behavior. So uncontrolled fires, they destroy plants, your plants, that's your fauna. They destroy plants, that's your flora, sorry. Then they also destroy fauna. They destroy fauna, which are referring to animals. Then we can also talk about destruction of property. can be infrastructure which is surrounding the area. Then in addition to that, loss of life. People can also loss of human life. Then you also know that it can cause pollution. All those things which are associated with uncontrolled fires or irresponsible tourism behavior. Then in addition to that, we look at question 6, which says study the image below and answer the questions that follow. Gearing up growth at meetings, Africa 2023. So name the marketing organization responsible for hosting meetings Africa 2023. The marketing organization is known as SA Tourism. It is responsible for marketing South Africa as a tourist destination. So SA Tourism is the name of the organization. Identify one type of tourist who will be attracted to this event. Obviously, your cultural tourists who are interested in discovering the cultural heritage of South Africa. Cultural tourists can be a suitable option there. Then name the 2 other international travel trade shows where South Africa is marketed. So the keyword then, we are talking about international travel trade shows where South Africa is marketed. International. So we have the ITB, which takes place in Berlin, which is known as the International Travel Boss. It takes place in Berlin annually. Then we also have another one, which is known as the WTM, which takes place in London. WTM, that is the one which takes place in London. Then discuss 2 ways in which international travel trade shows can position South Africa as a tourist destination choice. So there are several ways in which such events can position South Africa as a destination of choice. So they provide a platform to showcase. It is a platform to showcase what South Africa has to offer. What South Africa has to offer, as a tourist destination, as a destination. So it provides that unique platform. Then in addition to that, it allows interaction between players in the tourism industry. It allows interaction between tourism in the tourism industry and tourists. It actually provides that interaction whereby they will be telling them what South Africa has to offer and also other unique things which you can find after visiting South Africa. So that is question 6. Now moving on to the 7th question, which is entitled Tourism Sectors and Sustainable and Responsible Tourism. It requires you to refer to the picture which appears below, and then you will respond to them questions. If you look at the picture, you can actually see that different personnel, they are actually dressed in a very, very professional way. So a uniform contributes to the professional image of an airline. So discuss 2 ways in which the correct manner in which employees wear a uniform contributes to the professional image of an airline. All right, so the first thing is that a uniform, if you encounter workers who are dressed in a uniform, it actually gives a professional outlook in the sense that a uniform, it actually shows a sense of teamwork, whereby colleagues are putting on similar uniform. It shows a sense of teamwork. Then it gives a sense of professionalism. It actually shows that people are serious when it comes to their job. It gives a sense of professionalism. It actually gives a sense of professionalism. People tend to trust people who are putting on uniform. Then, in addition to that, a uniform also it markets. A uniform also markets the company, the airline. It actually markets their airline. So any of those three options can actually show how they actually contribute to the professional image. So the staff responsible for the safety of the passengers on the aircraft, these are known as the cabin crew. These are also known as the cabin crew. You can call them the flight attendants as well. These are known as cabin crew, or they are also known as flight attendants. So the cabin crew of an airline has so many responsibilities. So punctuality, all right, why is punctuality one of their conditions? Give one condition as part of the airline's code of conduct on the following. Punctuality, all right, punctuality, crew should be punctual to avoid flight delays. They should be on time to avoid flight delays. They should be on time to avoid flight delays. Then in their treatment of passengers, they should ensure that they should never subject passengers to risks. They shouldn't subject their passengers to different risks. It means exposing them to various dangers. They should not subject passengers to risks. Now, moving on to question 8. Read the information below and answer the questions that follow. Weaver technology to track sustainability. So there is a new digital system called Weaver, which was created to manage sustainability of the tourism industry. Weaver is an easy-to-use technology to track environmental and social impacts. The tourism industry is worth 1.6 million in total, and it employs over 270 million people worldwide. The tourism industry has the power to reduce the climate crisis and slow down biodiversity loss. Weaver gives accommodation establishments and other tourism sectors the tool to measure their impact on the environment. Give one word for the definition below. Using resources in a way that meets the demands of the current generation and without compromising the needs of the future. So that is actually known as sustainability. That is sustainability. That is meeting the demands of the current generation without compromising the needs of the future generation. Then hotel groups reduce their impact on the environment in different ways. Discuss 2 ways how can a hotel manage each of the following sustainable practices. Water management, we can actually reduce the use of water through there are several ways of reducing through the use of water saving. Perhaps you can say washing machines. There are some washing machines which they are designing which actually save machines. Then even showers, water saving, showers which save water. They can actually use showers which save water. In addition to that, planting of indigenous trees, they don't need too much indigenous plants. Indigenous plants do not need excessive watering, so they actually save energy. Then energy management, the use of solar power, saves energy. Then in addition to that, you can also discuss the use of energy saving devices or even lights. It actually saves energy. So those are some of the ways which can be used. Then the second 8.3, discuss the positive impacts of tourism on the global economy. Tourism is very important to the global economy. It creates millions of jobs. Tourism creates millions of jobs. Then in addition to that, it results in the multiplier effect. Tourism results in the multiplier effect. In addition to that, tourism promotes global peace and cooperation. Peace and cooperation. Then you can also say that it promotes cultural exchange. Tourism promotes cultural exchange. Promotes cultural exchange. It also promotes cultural exchange. That is, those are some of the benefits. Now on 8.4, the Weaver digital system is designed to track environmental and social impacts of tourism business. Suggest 2 ways in which you would encourage this business to make use of the Weaver digital system and thereby enjoy the benefits of reduced. So the 2 ways in which you can encourage, you can suggest training of staff on the use of staff on how to use it. Then certification of compliant business operators, of tourism business operators, You can provide certification or awards from businesses which are actually compliant with the system. So that is another way which you can actually use. Then domestic, regional, and international tourism. We do have a case study there. Study the information below and answer the questions that follow. The next FIFA World Cup will be held in North America. The soccer federations of USA, Canada, and Mexico submitted a joint bid to FIFA to host the competition. The North American traditions named their bid United 2026. 16 cities across United States of America, Canada, and Mexico will host this prestigious tournament. This is the first time 3 nations will host the World Cup. They declared that their combined sporting infrastructure will make them the best equipped host for the first 48 team tournament ever. So a possible challenge would be the travel documents to allow between the movement between the host countries. A possible solution for this can be a multiple entry system. So we have Canada, United States of America, and Mexico as being the host of the event. Give one reason why the extract refers to a continent, not to a country. All right. This event will be hosted by 3 countries on the same continent. This event will be hosted by 3 countries located on the same continent. On the same continent. So that's why they are mentioning this. These they will be hosted by 3 countries located on the same continent. So I identified 2 reasons why this one will be unique. Something which is unique is it hasn't been experienced elsewhere. So in this case, we are going to identify the unique aspects of this tournament. So there are 2 aspects here. So the first one, we are going to have the first unique aspect is that there will be a 48. The first thing is that the tournament is going to be hosted by by 48 teams. So this is the first thing. The tournament will be hosted by 48 teams. Then in addition to that, 3 countries or 3 nations. 3 nations which are Canada, USA, and Mexico. They will be hosting this thing. So it hasn't been done elsewhere before. So the 2 unique reasons, I'm going to state them right below. So the unique reasons are that the unique the 2 reasons why the 2026 World Cup will be unique is that it will be hosted. It will be hosted in 3 different nations. It will be hosted in 3 different nations or countries. Then, in addition to that, you can say that 48 teams are going to participate. Remember, it's traditionally it used to be a 32, 48 teams tournament for the first time. 48 teams are going to participate for the first time. So these are 2 reasons why this event is going to be unique. So the next question is that 2 reasons why the 2026 FIFA World Cup is considered a global event. It attracts a global audience. It is followed by all countries from the world. Remember, this is the biggest soccer event. So it attracts a global audience. In addition to that, it attracts global media coverage. It attracts global media coverage. So most media houses in the world, they actually cover this event. So that's why it is considered a global event. In addition to that, several teams from the world, they participate in it. Several global participants. For example, in this case, 48 countries are going to participate in this event. So no wonder why it's called a global event. Participants. It attracts several people from around the world. Discuss one positive impact of the FIFA World Cup we have on the economy of North America. So obviously, new jobs will be created. Then better infrastructure to host the event. Better infrastructure. More tourism. More tourists will visit the North American continent. Then the concept of the multi-entry visa. All right, it's a visa which allows you to enter a country several times, different countries, several times. So it's a visa which allows you to enter different countries several times. You can use it to enter Mexico. You can use it to enter the United States of America, then also Canada. Then you can move around those countries at any given time. So that is why it is called a multi-entry visa. Now, on 9.2, more visitors to the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park has seen an increase in visitor numbers between 2022 and 2023. So we have the United States of America 10.7, then the other one, UK 11.3, Germany 26. Then domestic visitors, the graph is also indicated there. Then now we get to the main question. Visitor numbers to the Kruger National Park have not recovered to the pre-COVID-19 levels. Yes, yet in the 2023 peak season, the park only received 93% of visitors compared to 2019. So identify from the graph the core market with the lowest visitors number. So if you go back to the graph, we look at the three core markets. When we talk about core markets, we are talking about the USA, we are talking about the UK, and Germany. So obviously, if you go to the United States of America, it has the lowest number there. So our correct answer there for that particular question is the USA. It has the lowest international visitors to the Kruger National Park or to South Africa. So the correct answer would be the USA, which is standing at 10.something%. Then refer to graph B. Discuss why Mpumalanga and Limpopo are considered to be the two of the top provinces for domestic visitors to the Kruger National Park. So if you look at Mpumalanga and Limpopo, these are actually the two provinces which house the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park is located in Mpumalanga and in Limpopo. So the reason is that the two provinces are the closest provinces to the park. So it's cheaper province to the park. So it's cheaper for travelers from Limpopo and for travelers, teams from the world, they participate in it. Several global participants. For example, in this case, 48 countries are going to participate in this event. So no wonder why it's called a global event. Participants. It attracts several people from around the world. Discuss one positive impact of the FIFA World Cup we have on the economy of North America. So obviously, new jobs will be created. Then better infrastructure to host the event. Better infrastructure. More tourism. More tourists. More tourists who visit the North American continent. Then the concept of the multi-entry visa. All right, it's a visa which allows you to enter a country several times, different countries, several times. So it's a visa which allows you to enter different countries several times. You can use it to enter Mexico. You can use it to enter the United States of America, then also Canada. Then you can move around those countries at any given time. So that is why it is called a multi-entry visa. Now, on 9.2, more visitors to the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park has seen an increase in visitor numbers between 2022 and 2023. So we have the United States of America 10.7, then the other one, UK 11.3, Germany 26. Then domestic visitors, the graph is also indicated there. Then now we get to the main question. Visitor numbers to the Kruger National Park have not recovered to the pre-COVID-19 levels. Yes, yet in the 2023 peak season, the park only received 93% of visitors compared to 2019. So identify from the graph the core market with the lowest visitors number. So if you go back to the graph, we look at the three core markets. When you talk about core markets, we are talking about the USA, we are talking about the UK, and Germany. So obviously, if you go to the United States of America, it has the lowest number there. So our correct answer there for that particular question is the USA. It has the lowest international visitors to the Kruger National Park or to South Africa. So the correct answer would be the USA, which is standing at 10.something%. Then refer to graph B. Discuss one reason why Mpumalanga and Limpopo are considered to be the two of the top provinces for domestic visitors to the Kruger National Park. So if you look at Mpumalanga and Limpopo, these are actually the two provinces which house the Kruger National Park. The Kruger National Park is located in Mpumalanga and in Limpopo. So the reason is that the two provinces are the closest provinces to the park. So it's cheaper province to the park. So it's cheaper for travelers from Limpopo and for travelers from Mpumalanga to go to the park. The two provinces are the closest to the closest provinces to the park. So it is cheaper for them to travel there. Then refer to information in C. Give one reason why the recorded visitor numbers are compared to the 2019 season and not the 2021 season. Obviously, 2019 represents the peak season. The peak season before COVID-19. It actually represents the peak season before COVID-19. What do we mean by that? The figures for 2019 and 2021 are not reliable because in 2019, in 2020 or 2021, COVID-19 restrictions, there were COVID-19 restrictions limited travel. They actually limited travel between one place to another. the COVID-19 restrictions, they actually limited travel, or they limited tourism. So going on to the next one, the next question, which is actually question 10. So we are going to study the infographic below and answer the questions that follow. An analysis of customer services and experience reflected the things below. To win a customer is 6 or 7 times more expensive than to keep a current one. Then loyal customers are worth 10 times as much as their first purchase. Then 70% of customers will not purchase again after experiencing poor service. Then it takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one negative one. Bad service reaches much more than twice as many years as praise for good service. So our question now reads, explain the 2 reasons why the findings are important for a tourism business. In order to improve the quality of the service. Service. Then another reason is in order to identify the problematic areas. In order to identify the problematic areas. And after identifying the problematic areas, business can actually address those problematic areas. Explain the meaning of the finding. It takes 12 positive experiences to make up for one negative one. All right, one negative experience is costly to the company, to the business. It is actually costly to the business. It harms the business 12 times. When a business does not treat a customer well, it actually harms the business 12 times. It is very, very costly for you to treat customers in a very bad way. It will come back to you. Then 10.2, study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. Oh, the disappointment. I am disappointed in your service. I will not return unless you fix the problem. So I am tired of your poor excuses. State one way in which management could respond appropriately to the customer. So one way, they need to listen. Okay, listen to the customer. Then apologize for bad service. Should listen to the customer. You apologize for bad service. Then investigate the source of origin. You investigate the source of the problem. Then address the problem. And compensate. Address the problem and compensate. Then 10.2.2, recommend one strategy a company can use to win back customers' loyalty. So another strategy of winning back customers' loyalty is through addressing shortcomings, or weaknesses Then you might as well compensate for bed service. When you offer bed service, compensate for it. You can actually give free service to win back the loyalty of the customer. Compensate for bed service. Then staff also need to be trained. Train staff to provide good service. Must train your staff to be on point when it comes to good service. So these are some of the strategies which you can actually do. Train your staff, compensate for bed service, where you know that you have done, your staff has provided bed service, they can actually be compensated from. So as you can see, we have attempted to give answers for each and every question in the paper. So in a tourism paper, all questions are compulsory. So you must make sure that all questions are answered, and you mustn't leave any question unanswered. All questions are answered. Which brings us to the end of this particular discussion of the 2023 November memorandum.